Hey everybody, I hope you're having a great Tuesday. I'm Kathy Hester and I blog at plantbasedinstantpot.com and healthyslowcooking.com. And if you hear some whining, it's my older dog behind me trying to beg me to give her something that she's not getting. So I'm sorry about that. Hey you guys, and I see that a couple of you are already on. Brenda, that is rude. Don't be rude to our guests. See if that works. So, thanks for coming. What I'd love to know is, do you have an Instant Pot? I'd like you to say, hey, make sure that you guys can hear me okay. And you may see me do this as I'm trying to rub her belly to keep her quiet. It'll be an exciting time to see all the things I can do. Hi, Diane. Thanks for joining us. And so today, what I wanted to do was make my favorite winter comforting soup, and actually Cheryl's too. Let her go on to the other side. She's a fussy 12-year-old dog. Come on, Brenna. Come on, go on to the other side. There you go. Okay, she's only been back here for like an hour, but now she wants out. So, let's get back to business. So, I'm making my favorite creamy tomato soup because when I became vegan, that was one of the things that was hard to eat out. And also, a lot of us, I don't know about you, grew up on Campbell's tomato soup made with tins of milk and mixed in with that corn syrup and who knows what other chemical blend there might be in there. So this is way simpler, way less expensive, and super easy to make. Oh, wow, lots of people. Hi, Snap Vegan, and hi, Louise, and hi, Norma. Thank you for letting me know you can hear me. Okay, so Diane has an Instant Pot, but not using it just for me. Cooler weather might get me going for some batch cooking. Okay, so this is a great thing to know. So today, and I'll show you the overhead, I've cooked one batch of soup here. So I've actually taken the recipe that I've put online and I've cut it in half. So these are 3-quart Instant Pots, and I'm cooking a half a recipe in each. And so you can cook half batches. Sometimes you can even cook half batches in a 6-quart, and it can vary. I will say that I've noticed the Ultra, which is the one that has the fancy knob and costs a little more, and we'll see it releases pressure slightly differently than the other one. I found it can be a little more sensitive. My 3-quart at least is a little more sensitive and tends to go to burnt quicker than the old Duo Pluses or Luxes. And I'm not really sure if it's just because it's a little more attuned. So I've been doing some experiments with it. So that's one thing. If you have something and it's too little liquid to come up to pressure, then you're going to get the burnt. Also, last night I was trying to do a half batch of split pea and navy bean soup, and I was using northern beans. And so the northern beans weren't cooked in the same amount of time. I just wanted to double check, put the lid back on, and cook it for a few more minutes like I tell you guys to do with normal bean dishes. And I did it in the Ultra, and the split peas had all dissolved. So it was really, really thick. And because it was now thick, it wasn't going to build back up to pressure. I tried a couple times. And if that should happen to you, what I ended up doing was just putting another little lid on top, like I think I used the slow cooker lid, or if you have a pot lid that fits on top, and I just turned it to saute high, and that way it could get high enough so the beans would cook without scorching everything on the bottom. So that's another way that you can deal with burnt, depending on what you're making. So if it's too thick, it's not going to come up to pressure. So that's just a few things. So what we're doing today, mainly we're using a can of tomatoes. And you can make them as expensive or as inexpensive as you want. I got these at Lidl, the cheap store. And these are organic and have a little sea salt. You can get them organic without sea salt. So the recipe, the full recipe calls for 2 of these. And I think I say 1 dice, or you can use any diced, whole, or crushed. This one's crushed. I think I have diced in here. It doesn't matter at all because you're going to blend it up. So don't worry about that. But it's just as easy to have around as it is to have like a can of Campbell's soup. So that's another thing I like. So we're going to just go ahead and put this together real quick. So I'm going to try and pour this in without splashing on me, which is kind of a miracle in and of itself. Just scrape some of this out. And again, if you are salt-free, totally use no salt tomatoes. And if you can find a place, oftentimes Aldi or Lidl has some organic things a little bit cheaper, but make sure that you're keeping an eye on all the prices. Okay, we're going to put some fresh garlic in here. And I'm going to put 1.5 cups of water. And it may be hard to see from there, but here is where the max is. So we're doing way good. I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons of cashews. The only reason some of these are whole is because that's all I could find one day. Please buy pieces. They're much less expensive unless you get in a bind like I did. Then we're putting just some regular rolled oats. Mine are gluten-free oats. And you can get some inexpensive gluten-free rolled oats at Trader Joe's. So that would be a go-to. Also, if you like to have your garlic prepared, so often I'll have little jars that I'll be showing you. And I believe, at least the last time I got it at Trader Joe's, they did not have any oil in with that. It was not the frozen one, but the jarred one. So definitely keep an eye on that. Now, I don't have any like whole dried basil. I just have powder. So I'm going to use a little bit different amount. And the only reason I'm using that instead of the other is that I don't have the other. So it doesn't matter at all. And if you hate basil, you could put something else in here. You could even, if you put oregano and pureed it like that, you could even put like some pizza ingredients, maybe some homemade vegan cheese or some yogurt, like obviously soy yogurt or almond yogurt that's unsweetened and unflavored. Okay, so for real, that's it. That's the soup. Oh, here, I put the lid. And so I'm going to put the lid on, right? Always make sure that this is to sealing. Venting is towards you. Sealing is away from you. And this is going to come up just like that's up once it comes to pressure. I'm going to switch to the side so you guys can see the front of this, at least mostly. Okay. Okay, so depending on what yours is, so my, where is it? Here we go, yeah. It's hard looking over my own shoulder. So there's a pressure cook button here because this is a later Duo Mini. My original Duo has manual. So if you see a recipe with manual, it means pressure cook. So if you have one that says pressure cook, you see manual, know that it's that. If you have one that says manual, know that it's pressure cook. So we're just going to cook it for 5 minutes. So it's really, really quick. So with this one, it's going to beep. It's going to start going on its own and start doing its thing. So we'll hear that as we go along. There we go. And so you can see it says on. Once it comes up to pressure, then it will start counting. And how many of you guys have a Duo versus an Ultra or a Duo Plus? And I think there's a Max that's supposed to be coming out soon. Actually, I can let that go. This one's unplugged now. So this, and actually I can show you sort of just the beginning so you can get an idea. So see, the Ultra has a little dial, and actually these light up. I just let it not let the plug out, so that's why you're not seeing it. So you turn this to get to the different ones, and it's a little bit pickier because after we do that, we set the time and everything. We have to press start, whereas before it just goes on its own. And I'm going to now go overhead. So this is the batch I made earlier. This is the Ultra, and see how it's a little different up here. And Snap Vegan has a Luxe and a Mini Duo. I think most people have Duos, but I've been getting a couple of questions about Ultras. So I'm trying to get up some information about that. Yeah, the duos typically are cheaper. The reason I got this Ultra Mini for 2 reasons. One, because it was on super sale, and I had like credit card rewards, so I think I paid like $20 or something. So that was the first reason. The second reason is once all of you guys start having Ultras, you're going to be asking me all those questions, so I need to learn it now. So that's what I'm doing, and hopefully I'll write something on the Ultra specifically. Hi, Allison. Okay, so normally we have a little thing, right, like this, that we would press to get the pressure out. Well, on an Ultra, you have a little button. So that's just another thing. So like people get very scared of touching that. It's really not that big a deal. I'm pressing this halfway, which is a lot like if I'm just kind of barely tapping it. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because it's a soup, right? So even though this is going to be a fairly thick soup, and also I can press it and it'll hold down. And let's see how that does. And I can undo it if stuff starts peeling. It's an exciting end today here at my house. I don't know what's going on, but there must be somebody near the driveway or a deer in the backyard. And Brenna, who's in the house, Max is out on the deck barking at something. Brenna's just laying here kind of supporting him by barking. Yes, and Chuck, I could post the quantities, but if you go to the recipe link, and I think I got all the different places I put this video, and it goes straight to Plant-Based Instant Pot where the recipe is, and you're literally cutting it in half. So instead of 2 20-ounce cans, you're going to use 1 20-ounce can of tomatoes, a cup and a half of water, about 2 tablespoons cashew pieces, and you can leave that out if you are allergic to nuts or you just don't eat nuts. I did forget something to put in here, but that's okay. We can do it without it anyhow. So half of a third a cup of rolled oats. I just kind of guesstimated that. So I took a third of a cup and filled it about halfway up. It says a tablespoon of dried basil. I used about half a teaspoon of ground just because it's different. And you guys could probably see and hear that go down. 2 cloves of garlic instead of 4. And what we can do after this, and this is totally up to you, so you can add some sweetener because some tomatoes can be a little bit sour or bitter. And it's often done in spaghetti sauce as well. So you could use a half a tablespoon of maple syrup. And I actually have a half a tablespoon measure, but if you didn't, 2 teaspoons, I think, is close enough. You could use maple syrup or agave nectar. You could use sweetener of your choice, whatever you want to put in there. Just if you're using something other than the sweetener I'm talking about, what you're going to need to do is put just a little, taste it, see if that's close, and then put a little bit more and see if that's close. Oh, it's the mailman. I don't know how dare the mailman come to my house. And then it's just salt and pepper and taste. So we're going to notice a little bit of this. And hopefully, sometimes the mailman sits beside our mailbox and sorts a lot of mail. And I'm sorry if he does that. I really am. So the thing that I left out this time, which is fine to leave out, is bouillon cubes. But let me show you some bouillon cubes. And these, because you'll see me a lot say 1 bouillon cube, 2 if homemade. This is homemade bouillon that I made in frozen ice cube trays. It's Brenna. It's not as concentrated as those little cubes, but it also has no salt, oil, anything weird. So what you can do is also on plantbasedinstantpot.com is the recipe for this bouillon. So that's the one thing. Oh, yes, that vegan, you could totally use like maybe some date syrup. I don't know if I'd want to use a whole date. Maybe a quarter of a date. You could, and if you did that, I would put it in while we're cooking this. Because other than heating up the tomatoes, what we're doing is we're softening the cashews and the oats. See how that works? You can see that that's kind of cooked, the oats. And it looks completely not nice right now. But trust me, that's going to change. You can put salt and pepper in there to taste. If you are a no salt person, I would encourage you to maybe put some granulated garlic and maybe a little bit of granulated onion powder. And I think that that can help too. And you know what? Since I forgot the bouillon, I'm going to put some nutritional yeast in there. So hopefully you're seeing that everything can be done. Like if you don't have bouillon and it's snowing, I put a little nutritional yeast and maybe sometimes I'll put a little thyme in there, which is, you know, something I have in my bouillon. But yeah, I think you could put dates in there too. So I'm just going to swirl this around a little bit. Now, one thing that I haven't really tried in the Instant Pot as much as I'd like is using an immersion blender. So, and you know what? I finally picked this up from the top, which I never do, because it's always over my head because I'm so short. And I'm like, look, there's speeds. Did you guys know that? If you did, I'm very proud of you. A lot of times I will transfer this to a blender. And I want to see if this is going to work well enough this way. It's just this. Max is a very sensitive doggy. Now, what you can't really see is that there are still some tiny little pieces of oats. And this is fine for me. This is going to be great for my lunch. Let me see if I can get a spoon and bring that up and show it to you at all. And to me right now, I can keep blending it. Can you guys see there's some pieces? Using a Vitamix or something like that would make it smoother. So you could totally do it that way. So you don't have to use an immersion blender, but if you don't have another blender, also if you're using something like a Ninja that's small, plastic, that you're touching a lot of it, when you're pureeing this hot stuff, it can get tricky to not be burned. So I find that using a big pitcher blender, so like if you have a Ninja that has the pitcher, I would use the pitcher for that. The Vitamix, just something like that. So what do you guys think? I mean, yeah, instead being saying just keep going. The immersion blender, and I will do that. I just hate to have you guys listen to the immersion blender for that long and listen to Max be upset about the immersion blender. I think you guys have dealt enough with the animal barking for not living in my house. But yeah, so you can keep going with that. And it is safer, I think, a little bit for you to use the immersion blender inside of there than to pour the hot liquid and back and forth. It can be a little bit dicey. Like, I'll do it, but I'm used to it, but I don't let Cheryl do it. And Cheryl is a grown-up woman. She's not a child, but she's not so good with kitchen stuff. And do you guys have any questions about kind of what you've seen? One thing Allison says it's a quick and easy recipe. It is so quick, it's so easy, and basically what I would think, depending on how much you can get the tomatoes for, sometimes you can get them for 99 cents. So this could be something that's like under $3 and it'll feed 4 people. And it's great in the winter. I really want it to be fall because I love fall, right? And it's like 80 degrees outside. But I'm having soup every night because I'm stubborn. But this is a great soup because it's a pantry soup. So let's say in the winter we get snowed in. You've got all the things to make a really delicious warming soup without having to try and trek out to the store or make something super fancy. Oh, Chuck, you're so sweet. How long can it be stored in the fridge for? I would say 5 to 6 days, maybe a whole week if it's really cold in your fridge. Oh yeah, Cheryl is crazy for tomato soup. And this tastes, before I became vegan, I used to eat the creamy tomato soup at La Madeleine. And I don't know if you guys have had that, but that's the super rich, made with cream and, you know, it's the one that's super bad for you, basically. And I think this tastes almost as creamy. And if it's not creamy enough for you, if you're using the cashews, you can up the cashews a little bit, and that will also help give a richer, more cream-like feel to it. The oats give you that still kind of creamy soup without the cream, and it does that by adding some nutrients and fiber, and it doesn't add any fat. And what I'm going to try, too, because I was trying to experiment last night, like the split pea soup that I was telling you about earlier, because I had to cook it so much longer, I went down in the freezer and found something for Cheryl, but there was no soup for me. So I'm going to be spending the next 2 weeks putting soup in the freezer. So I am going to do that, and I'll try and let you guys know. I'll try and update the web post if it really is freezable. I think it should be. My freezer tolerance is higher than most people's because I just would rather have it there. The recipe is on plantbasedinstantpot.com. I'm not sure which place you're watching this from, but I tried to put it in the comments everywhere. And I believe you're seeing this because it's in Plant-Based Instant Pot is where you're watching it. So if that's the case, go up to the first comment. And if you can't see it there, it might have gotten lost with everything. I'll go and put it back into the actual post as well. It's a super simple soup, and I think you guys are going to like it. And also, remember these things when you're trying to make some other soups creamy now and vegan and dairy-free. So like potato is a good way to make it, cashews, rolled oats, cauliflower. Those are all ways of taking a soup and then making it look creamy and thick and rich and delicious. So it's totally doable. And another one of my favorite super quick soups is I take a bag of frozen California blend that's cauliflower, broccoli, and carrots. And so I lightly steam that, maybe steam it for about 5 minutes or so. And then go ahead and puree that all up with some spices. And it's a nice, nice soup. And again, it's something that you can have on hand all the time. Brenna. I don't know what's worse, when they're puppies or when they're old and they want their way. So what I'm going to do is let you not be tormented by my dogs anymore. I'm so glad you guys joined me, and I hope that you will make this tomato soup. If you do, I'd love to see pictures of it. So you can tag me on Instagram at Geeky Poet, long story, or feel free to try and post them in the group, because I would love to see your soup pictures. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful week. Oh, one more thing. I'm having a Halloween online cooking class, and that's going to be this coming Monday in the evening at 6 p.m. So if you're in my group, Vegan Recipes Cooking with Kathy Hester, which is a Facebook group, there's a discount code there. There might be a discount code on Plant-Based Instant Pot as well, the Facebook group that you're in now. But I would love to see you guys there. I love Halloween. We're going to make a really nice creamy potato soup. We're going to make some really fun stuff. Okay, and I'm looking forward to seeing all your photos. And next week I may be doing this earlier, so it might even be as early as 11. So I'll try and give you a heads up, or I might try and do it on Monday. Okay. Anyhow, have a great week, and I hope I see you in one of my classes.